and welcome to the Built Environment Marketing Show, hosted by me, Aya Abbas. I'm a marketing consultant, speaker and trainer, and I work exclusively with architects and engineers. If you want to find out more about my work, head to www.abbasmarketing.com. So, today is the final episode of my Practical Snacks marketing mini-series. They are episodes which are short, snappy, tactical episodes under 10 minutes long on a particular marketing topic or film. Make sure you check out the previous 3 episodes, which are on SEO, website homepages, and also email marketing. So all practical, short episodes that you can really action now. Anyway, on to today's episode. Today, I am talking about one of my favourite things, podcasting. But podcasting from the view of being a guest on others. The reason I really wanted to focus on this was because I really do think that podcasting is a great way to position yourself as a thought leader, spread the word, and also by being a guest on other people's shows, you can really tap into their audiences. Anyway, let me just quickly take you back about why I think podcasting is brilliant and another area that built environment firms can exploit and use. So basically, according to research recently from Edison Research, more UK adults than ever are actually listening to podcasts. And it's still on the rise. The audience is getting younger and it's also getting much more diverse. So there's an opportunity there. Another piece of research, which was done by Midas, talked about the fact that 21% of the UK population tune into podcasts in an average week, which is enormous. And those people tend to listen to around 7 hours of podcasts each week. For me, that's almost a day. I probably listen to way more than that in a couple of days, to be honest. But for most people, 7 hours per person over a week, which is an immense amount of time to be in someone's ears. And I think the opportunity for me is understanding that people are saying, oh, there's way too many podcasts out there. But really, when you compare podcasts, which is a relatively new medium, to things like blogs, there are only, in 2023, there are 4 million podcasts in the world. And compare that to 600 million blogs out there. So you see that we've got so much scope to kind of grow into this medium. So it's definitely, don't write it off as there's no opportunities for you. There really are. Now, I am a huge fan of podcasts. I host this one, but I also host one about integrated transport delivery for a client. So you can check that one out if that's your bag. But I think the thing for me is that when clients ask me, should we go on a podcast? Shall we set up our own podcast? I always say, if you don't listen to podcasts already, then don't bother. Don't waste your time. It takes a lot of effort to do podcasting, which is why I think guesting is such a good way to get started. So here's some tips on how you can get started in terms of being a guest before you invest resources into your own show. Firstly, I think the first thing you need to do is listen to podcasts. You need to understand podcasts, what they work, how they work, what's the structure, what you can bring to a podcast. Really listen to an episode. Listen to ones in your sector, listen to ones outside your sector, just to get an understanding of the medium. And also in terms of guesting, understand what makes a good guest. So start to listen to kind of really think, what's this guest bringing to that show? What are they selling? And I think the other thing you can start to do is actually go on the podcast platforms at Apple and Spotify and start to research podcasts in your sector. So tap in architecture, tap in engineering, tap in marketing, and just look at the podcasts that are coming up. What's their names? What's their titles? Who are their hosts? What markets are they hitting? Some of them are based in Australia, some are in the US mainly, but actually just research what's out there in the sector and actually where your opportunities lie. Then you can start to build your wish list. These are the shows that I am going to ultimately be pitching to. So think about your target audience. What sort of topics will they be searching for? There's definitely, there's things around energy, there's sector podcasts, there's things around being an architect, there's things around architectural careers, there's things around design and home. There's such a huge array of podcasts. So really go onto Apple Podcasts or Spotify and just search around. And another place that you could also look is called Listen Notes. Listen Notes, I think it gives you some free searches, but it gives you an idea on actually the popularity of certain podcasts and also just gives you a bit more background information. So There's lots and lots of different places that you can research. I will put links into all of those places in the show notes as well. Another tip for you is actually to look at some of your competitors. Look at what podcasts they've been on and add those to your list, to your wish list. Have a look and see, listen to their interviews, understand what they're talking about. Why did they get onto that show? Think about that and also use that as another way to understand how you can be a better guest for somebody else. So once you've done your research, which I think is a huge thing, and you've listened to a few episodes, it's about writing a compelling bio and a compelling, sell, a compelling offer for you. So what, 3 or 4 ideas, or what ideas can you bring to that podcast or any podcast? Maybe you could start off broad, but then actually just tailor that pitch to that relevant podcast. What sections do they have? How do they do their titles? And really, really, really think about what you can bring to that show. I think it's really important to understand your strengths, the issues that are topical that you can talk about, or those issues that you're really passionate about, because that will come across and make you a much more compelling guest. And then it's on to crafting your pitch for that show. For that particular show, what would you bring to it? How would you benefit that audience? Remember, it's about them and not you. Well, how can you help that host to do what they need to do? I know as a podcaster, having to produce content regularly can be a bit of a strain. So if someone can come to me with a great pitch that sort of says what they'll bring to my listeners and really, really sort of says what they'll bring to me, I'm all ears. But it's got to be on point. You've got to listen and you've got to tell me why you benefit me, why you benefit my audience, and some really tight, good show ideas. And really, I just sell yourself and a compelling, introduction to who you are and a really strong bio. And I think if someone came to me and pitched like that, I would be much more happy to listen. I mean, I've had my podcast for over 4.5 years, and I have to admit, I don't think I've hardly ever got a good podcast pitch. A lot of them are blanket and highly irrelevant. So to actually, for me to actually receive one that would be really, really, targeted to me, I would actually be really happy to see it. I think the other thing you could do as a podcast guest is make sure that you've got decent equipment. You've got a decent setup. So you want a good microphone, you want some headphones and a decent camera so that you are ready to go. How can you be ready so that you are putting your best foot forward to be on a show? In terms of podcasting, as well as listening, for me personally, I always give my guests a brief and some outline questions. They're not necessarily all the questions I'll be asking, but it gives you a good structure of where I'm likely to take it. Now, what I find whenever I guest on other people's podcasts, I actually do ask for that because it just means that I can write a few bullets under the questions and make sure that I'm fully briefed about what it is that I want to share and what it is that I want to talk about. I find that kind of whole process of just going there and writing a few bullets really just helps to focus my mind. And before you appear, it's also worth thinking about where it is you want to send people at the end of the interview. Do you want to send them to your website? Do you want them to book a call? Do you want them to connect with you on LinkedIn? Think of your CTA. So important as usual. And finally, when the interview is shared by the host, make sure that you share it on social media natively yourself so that you can give the episode the attention it deserves. I always think podcasts are a lot of work, so it's really lovely when a guest gets on board and does their share in terms of promoting it. So that's the final episode of my Practical Snacks mini-series. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed putting it together. And as a special gift, I have put together a mini guide which brings together all the main tips from all 4 episodes. So if you check out the show notes, you can find a link there to download it. So I hope that's useful too. So please do share about the mini-series and let me know what you thought of it. And I look forward to seeing you in 2 weeks' time with a regular Built Environment Marketing Show episode. Thanks for listening. Bye.